Welcome back to Bull Sessions here on 680 KFEQ. You can email your questions or comments to bull@willcross.net. Once again, here's Randy Baker and agronomist Brad Law.
Okay, we're back with more Bull Sessions after that short break. We've got some things coming up. We got our Bean of the Week by Bradley. We got our Lady in Ag coming up, Focus on the Farmer, and our special in-studio guest, Wayne Duncan.
I know. They moved me over here to the control board. I feel the power, Randy. I really feel the power.
Oh.
I've got my elbows in Miles's room, so he can't do much of anything.
I see his hands on the button, so your power is controlled.
I'm learning.
So
I'm going to be able to run this thing.
No, no, we want Miles doing it. Anyway, tell me what.
Well, Bean of the Week. If people have been on our Facebook page at that Will Cross Bull Sessions on Facebook, they saw that on Tuesday our Bean of the Week came out. It was the 7350.
Yes. What do you think?
Well, 7350, I mean, I love those sound effects.
I do too. Miles is good.
But the 7350 is one of those glide tolerant beans we've talked about, and it is a 3.5 maturity. It is an STS soybean.
Yep, we like that.
So that's a little bit different deal. It's a gray bean. Its plant height is 37 inches. It is a medium bush. It's got a decent SDS score and good stress score. That bean has won the plot up there at Jerry's in Nebraska, up there around Syracuse.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, it won that one.
Jerry Rosenthal.
Yes. And it has just been a little bit earlier bean in our lineup that several have liked. And remember, those glide-tolerant beans are priced very, very competitively.
Yeah.
So
low 30s.
Low 30s. So you can get that seed cost down there. And we've had this bean for years up at Henderson, Iowa. We talked about Sarah and Richard Cool before on our show.
Yeah.
And Mr. Too Cool told us that last year that bean hit 76 bushel on a field for him.
I don't know. Does that work?
I would say.
I would think. Yeah. 76 bushel.
76 bushel
3.5
up there.
maturity. That works.
Got some other yield data from up at that big metropolis of Atlantis Grove. It hit 64 in the plot.
That's all.
You know, we've had it go in the 50s and stuff at my place. So we kind of like that bean.
It's good. It's a good bean.
It is a proven bean.
You know what else is proven here is a horseman.
A horseman?
We haven't had any horse people on. You know, I raised quarter horses for years. I've known about this guy for a long time. Mr. Duncan, Wayne Duncan from Savannah, Missouri.
Yep.
Tell us your story.
Well, this is appropriate, and Miles can verify this, that this is called Bull Session, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because I have a BS degree.
You do.
Even got a dictionary I wrote out in the pickup. I'll show you. So anybody that knows me will say, yeah, that's his deal right there, the Bull Session.
Well,
so,
you just come over from being, doing Gene's show.
Right, and those are big shoes to fill.
Agri shop, but you fill them well.
Well,
you do
I try,
well.
and I appreciate that. I really do. If I just had a third of Gene's knowledge, that would be the other thing.
He is awesome, isn't he?
He is, and if he don't know it, you won't know the difference because it was so long ago we wouldn't know if it was right or wrong. Hi, Gene. How you doing? Hope you're listening.
He will reward you for that, no doubt.
Yeah, there'll be a comment, I'm sure. I've known Gene my whole life. I grew up on the farm. When we moved out to the farm, I was about middle school, and we milked cows every morning, so I'd learn what that was like by hand.
Yes.
And Gene Millard on the radio, 5:30 of a morning, there'd come Gene. That was every morning on the radio.
Yeah.
So a pillar of the community, a pillar of this radio station. So
sure
great guy. And I love getting to fill in for that Agri Shop. That's a fun show. Almost as much fun as this is turning out to be.
They're good. We're glad.
As far as story, raised with horses. My grandfather raced harness horses.
Really?
Pacers and trotters would be standardbred, on the racetracks. That's what I grew up doing, and as time has evolved and things have changed, that sport's kind of moved a different direction.
Right.
And, but, at 5 years old, I was sitting on his lap driving horses. So I've drove lots of horses for thousands and thousands of miles. And I remember him one time telling my mom he apologized because he had put that curse on me.
Oh, yeah.
The horse curse. And you know what the horse curse is if you had the quarter horse. You know exactly. Mm-hmm. And the only bad thing you can find about the horse business is it's really hard to make any money at it.
It don't happen.
It just don't happen. So you better like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because money's not going to be part of the deal. Kind of like Miles on the radio is what he tells me about the same thing. You know, you got to really like it because it just don't pay very good. But he has a good time and he does a great job at it.
He says that, but, you know, he dresses pretty snazzy.
Yeah, drives a pretty fancy car, too.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Well, the longer this show is on, the more money I make. So let's keep it going here.
Is that why you invited me? Because of the bull session, so you invited me. That was the deal. I understand.
Exactly. He thought you'd fit right in. And
did
wow,
fit in.
do
so,
you?
Yep.
It's awesome.
You know,
and go ahead, Randy.
You guys made me think of something. You know, I've always said farming's like the mafia because there's only usually death is about the only way out, and to get into prison is basically like putting a farmer in a suit and tie job in a cubicle or something. But then I realized the mafia makes money. Farming don't always make money, so that's a kind of a major difference there.
Bradley needs to know about the horses, doesn't he?
Yeah, you need to get. Let me. You know, I could use an investor, Bradley. It wouldn't be not a problem at all.
Negative figures.
Can I see your portfolio on that?
Well, if you've been in farming, it won't scare you.
It won't.
It really won't scare you. So it's not a lot of difference, you know. And it's one reason I have my carriage business. I started at 1989. Mm-hmm. Like I said, grew up racing harness horses. My grandfather died in 1980. The fun kind of left for me. Wasn't what it used to be. Him and I done it together.
Sure.
I got away from my horses. I always kept the horses, but kind of got away for a few years there. And one day woke up and said, if I don't get some horses back, I'm going to end up in prison because I'm going to lose my sanity and shoot somebody, you know? So the only way I could figure out to afford to keep my horses and run the deal was I had to start some kind of a business. So we started with one old broke-down standard-bred mare and one buggy, and we started advertising and doing weddings. Mm-hmm. And from there, we've just, over the years, grown and accumulated and added and worked in different areas and just built the business from that point.
Sure. Do you do the carriage rides out at the mall? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
During the holidays?
Yep.
Cool.
We, now this Christmas, the mall did not do it, but we've done the North shops up here for the last 9 years.
Oh, yeah.
And if you see one at Krug Park, that'll be us.
Yeah.
Downtown Association, that'll be us. We've got some places. Christmas is our busiest time of year.
Oh, I bet.
And we've got some places. This will be their 27th and 8th Christmas this Christmas when it rolls.
Really?
Whoa.
Little town of Oregon, Missouri.
Yeah.
BJ ran the newspaper up there. BJ Ripley. She ran the newspaper up there forever.
Okay.
Found me one day. I put an ad in up there and she hired me for Christmas. That was my first Christmas event in 1989.
Really?
And we've been at Oregon's Christmas this first Thursday night of December for the last 27 years.
Wow.
So, you know, and it's a fun deal. A lot of good people. Got good friends up there that help me.
Sure.
I couldn't begin to do any of this business without all my help, with all my friends. I mean, and I got to call my friends because I can't afford to pay them. If they help, I pay them. Which, being in the horse business, you understand how that works.
Oh, I do.
You know exactly how that part works. So
any money that changes hands, it's still in negative figures.
There's always something needs new shoes. You got to reset shoes.
Oh, always.
There's always a pickup needs tires. Something's broke.
Trailer.
You just run as long as you can on what you got till you got to take this money and buy something else. But, and like you say, it's a love. You got to have a love of the business. You got to have a love of the animal.
Yeah.
And part of what I do is I enjoy getting in the public and educating people on that. Because they really are so far from horses anymore. Oh, yeah. They don't understand.
They don't.
They really don't.
Do you got the big horses, the big draft horses?
I've got draft horses. Out there in that trailer right now, you know how tall is a hand? How many inches is a hand?
About this much.
4.
4 inches. Okay. So 19 hands would be how many inches?
Bradley, get your calculator out.
19 hands
76.
times 4.
Okay, he's beat you.
76 divided by 12 is 6 1/3 feet.
Okay. But that would be how many inches would be 76?
Yeah.
Is what you would be, okay? So I've got a horse in that trailer out there that is 19.3.
Oh, my.
Weighs 2,200 pounds.
That's a dinosaur.
Yep. Well, he's a pretty good sized boy. We call him Tower, and everybody around town knows him.
Yeah.
He came out of, Prefert Farm Equipment.
Yeah.
Mount Pleasant, Texas.
Yep.
Prefert used to have a hitch called Rolling Thunder, and Tower and another horse I own named Shrek were in that hitch until they dissolved that hitch.
Really?
And I, through a roundabout way, acquired them, and they heard about me and said, be a good place for the horses to be. These were horses that didn't go on with Randy. It's not Randy, but a good one, that took the hitch and went on with it. And these were left behind. So I have Tower and Shrek, both of them being that size.
Wow.
You know, and for people, you know, that don't, you and I know how to measure a horse at the withers. The withers on a horse, people, where you measure from, when that horse puts his head all the way to the ground, that's the highest point left standing. That'll be his withers, which is generally at the base of his neck. On our big horses, about where the back of the collar stands when you're standing there. So if you want to figure that out, my horse would be 6'7" at that point.
At that point.
When you stand upside him.
That's a monster.
And it's amazing. And people love him.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's the most docile, one of the best animals you could ever run.
He'd probably pull a barn down, couldn't
You know,
he?
he could, you know, and that's another thing, part of the education of people on the horses. You know, they'll come up, oh, that poor horse, you're making him work. Well, Pimple, we're not a pimple on his hind end.
Yeah,
I mean, we're really not. I mean, a horse can pull 3 times his weight.
Really?
On rolling on wheels.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So that horse can pull 6,000 pounds on wheels.
Yeah.
And not bother him.
No big deal.
Nah. That carriage, even as fat as I am, that carriage and me and a load of people don't even begin to
Walk
weigh.
in the park.
Yeah, he didn't even know we're back there.
He could pull a plow.
Yes, he could. And, you know, and that's what I tell people. You think this is hard. You know, plowing's a lot harder than this. So.
Sure. You know, I've seen some people out still for nostalgia. They'll plow a little bit. You know, I used to know a guy that did that. We'll talk more in just a minute with Wayne when we come back to Bull Sessions on 680 KFEQ.
Sounds great.